Now, I want to welcome to the program right now a gentleman who will be speaking this Friday in Nashville, Tennessee at the NRA ILA Leadership Forum. Returning once again to NRA News Cam and Company, former Governor of Texas, Rick Perry, is with us. Governor, how are you, sir?
Cam, all good. Everything's good in South Carolina, which is where I am right now. It's a good place, good people. It's Texas is in good shape and creating jobs and competing with all these other states. So that's we still believe in the 10th Amendment in the state of Texas as well as the Second Amendment. So it's all good.
Well, that's fantastic, and I'm glad that you could join us this afternoon. I can't wait to see you in Nashville, Tennessee on Friday. And, you know, there are going to be a lot of speakers there. Governor, you mentioned you're in South Carolina this afternoon. I have to ask, might you be gearing up for some sort of activity over the next, let's say year and a half or so? Some sort of, I know you like to jog. Are you thinking about a long run of some sort?
Yeah, well, obviously being prepared, whether you're playing a football game, a basketball game, whether you're competing state to state or whether you're running for a high office in this country, being prepared is the real key. And in 2011, 2012, number one, we weren't healthy, and secondly, we weren't prepared the way we should have been. And I made the decision some years ago that if the situation ever arose, that I would consider the run for the presidency again, I would be very, very well prepared, and that's exactly what we've been doing now for 3+ years of being prepared, and obviously South Carolina and Iowa and New Hampshire are places that you need to go to be in that preparatory mode.
Absolutely. Well, and, talking with thousands and thousands of NRA members, again, that's not a bad opportunity to make your case. So what are you looking forward to? What is I don't want to ask you to, give your entire speech away here on Friday, but what are you concerned about? What do you want NRA members to be thinking about as they leave that leadership forum on Friday?
Well, hopefully they'll see a host of speakers that are standing up for the Second Amendment and keeping freedom alive. Freedom finds itself in lots of forms, if you will. Freedom from over-taxation, freedom from over-regulation, freedom from over-litigation, the freedom of being educated. That's actually, those four things are what we put in place in Texas over the last 4 years, the last 14 years, and made us the absolute epicenter from the standpoint of a place where people want to live, raise their family, have a business, from December of 2007 through December of 2014. A 7-year period of time. Keep in mind, that was during a period of time, the worst recession that this country's gone through since the Great Depression. And Texas created 1.5 million net new jobs during that period of time. The same period of time, the 49 other states, they lost 400,000 jobs during that time frame. So, freedom is freedom to live your life like you want to, freedom economically, freedom from government's heavy hand of regulation. That's the reason that 5.6 million people were added to the population rolls of Texas during that period of time. And frankly, this country needs that kind of renaissance. The federal government needs to, get its act together and do the few things that the Constitution calls for it to do, like stand a strong military. I just gave a speech at the Citadel and right outside of Charleston, South Carolina, and I talked about this next generation of young men and women that are going to volunteer to serve. They need to know that the civilian leadership in this country is going to support them. It's going to put the resources into the military so that they know that they can stop any threat to the values and the security of America. And we haven't seen, we've got the smallest army that we've had since 1940 today. And I will suggest to you, because this administration is taking money away from the military to continue to pay for other programs that they think are more important than the security of this country. And to me, that is unconscionable. The world's in chaos. You look at TV and you see Coptic Christians being beheaded. You see Christians being slaughtered in Africa. You see Coptic Christians, again, beheaded in Libya and Tunisian tourists killed outside of Tunis. I mean, there's some great concerns about what's going on in the world today. And I will suggest to you, partly because America has retreated from its position of influence and power. And our military has got to be built back up. And I think one of the powerful messages that I hope you hear, not just from me, but from a host of speakers, is that we're going to put America back in its rightful place of authority, a rightful place of influence, and the United States military and our diplomatic abilities to send a clear message that these Islamic jihadists, the terrorists that are seemingly running wild in places like Paris, where they slaughtered the Jews at that marketplace. I mean, the U.S. has a real role to play, and our military has to be built back up. The last thing we ever want to do is to go to war. I've seen firsthand the impact of war on young men and women who have served, the families who've lost loved ones, the families that have been torn apart by war, and it needs to be the absolute last option that we ever take. But if it does come to that option, America needs to be in a position of being able to be incredibly strong, and that the opposition out there, the enemy of freedom, needs to understand that America will crush them with our military power if that's what's required.
Talking with former Texas Governor Rick Perry. And, Governor, you talk about that next generation of Americans who are going to be protecting this nation, defending, all of us. There are Americans right now on college campuses who are concealed carry holders. Right now, many of those folks are told it is against the law for them to lawfully carry on a campus. This is the subject of much debate and legislation in the state of Texas right now. Governor Abbott has said that he supports this. We've seen the campus carry bill get out of the state Senate. It looks like a vote is coming up in the state House. I'm curious your thoughts on extending the ability for concealed carry holders who are already allowed to carry on the college campuses there in public universities in Texas into buildings. Do you support the idea of campus carry?
Well, I do, and I'm really proud to see the leadership in Texas. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's been a real outspoken supporter of that concept, and I think it's one of the reasons we're seeing it move now. Is Governor Patrick's strong support for it. Obviously, the Governor Abbott has said that he will sign it if it gets to his desk, and I think the vast majority of Texans understand. You know, we heard these same arguments back when we passed concealed carry back in the 90s in Texas. Oh, you know, it's going to turn into the Wild West. You're going to have these shootouts on the freeways, and we know now that, and we knew then, sensible people knew then that was just nonsense from the left, that people who were either ignorant or had a political agenda. And none of that's come true. As a matter of fact, I will suggest to you, there is a reason that Texas crime rate is as low as it's been since 1967-68. And one of the contributing factors to that is that we do have a concealed handgun license law in the state of Texas. And when bad guys know that law-abiding, thoughtful, well-trained citizens could be armed, they may have a second thought about committing a crime. And I think it makes sense. Listen, we send 18-year-olds to fight for us around the world. An 18-year-old freshman who's gone through the proper training, proper backgrounding, should be able to protect themselves on the college campus as well.
Governor Rick Perry from the state of Texas. Listen, I cannot thank you enough, sir, for joining us this afternoon. Enjoy South Carolina, and we will see you in Nashville, Tennessee on Friday.
Well, look forward to seeing you for another great NRA convention. And the folks at Tennessee, they always tell me, said, Perry, if it hadn't been for Tennessee, there wouldn't be no Texas. But we love that competition between the states. It's what makes this country unique, but it's also what makes this country stronger. So God bless you, and we'll see you in Nashville.
All right. Thank you so much, Governor. We'll see you soon. Governor Rick Perry, former governor of Texas, join us right here on NRA News, Cam and Company.